Hey guys, how's it going? We're back. A little more content just to buy some time, really. So I thought I'd have a look at all the Pokemon that I've used in Draft League so far. So I'm fairly new to it. So I've done 3 seasons in 3 different leagues now. And so what we see here are all the Pokemon that I've used in that time. Then I was going to order them into each team for the season, but I think we'll just go at it as we do, and I can talk about how I used each Pokemon. Some of these have seen use in more than one team, so we'll talk about how they've done. And yeah, so let's get started. So Mega Altaria. Now we've used this twice now. We used it in the Shadow Fate League and in Big Juice Season 3. This Pokemon, I think, is probably going to be, I think it's going to be top B tier. So it's got a lot of versatility. So I can Dragon Dance, you can Cotton Guard, you got physical and special sets you can do. The Dragon Dance set is definitely the best, and there's not a lot that resists Earthquake and Pixelate returns. So obviously it would be nicer to have a little more speed. But there's a lot you can do. I think it fits onto a lot of teams quite nicely. You can defog with it as well. I don't think it's an A. I think we're going to start with a B tier one. Okay, next up is Drapion. Drapion is another Pokemon. Probably the only other one that we've used. No, actually, no. I'm wrong. So, there's another one that we've used in 2 separate leagues. And Drapion is also going to go in the B tier. I really enjoy this Pokemon. I didn't think much of it before I started playing Draft League, but you've got Toxic Spikes, you've got Knockoff, you've got Earthquake, you get Sword Stance Up, you get a decent amount of damage. I think a lot of people look past this Pokemon, and that works in its favor as well. I really enjoy using it. You can put Black Sludge on it. I think it has a lot of sort of lower tier value. I really enjoy using it. It's not as good as Mega Altaria now, so it's gonna stay about there. Drifblim. So we swapped this out a little bit into Big Juice Season 3, so I think that kind of says it's gonna go in C tier. It's not terrible. That 150 HP is very deceiving as to how bulky it actually is. It really doesn't take many hits. But you've got a lot of different utility moves with it. You've got Defog, you've got Tailwind, Trick Room if you want to use it, Destiny Bond, Will-O-Wisp Hex can work as a bit more output. But I think C tier is where it's gonna stay. Ferrothorn. We talked about Ferrothorn quite recently. Obviously, it's been huge champion of our recent season in Big Juice. I'm gonna put it for now. I'm going to put it at the top of A tier. I'm not sure if it's S compared to some of the other Pokemon we're going to talk about. But it's a huge defensive power. With Leech Seed Knockoff, for a defensive Pokemon, you're putting in a lot of offensive power. It's definitely not passive wall. Galvantula. Galvantula is another B tier mon. I'm going to put it here. Galvantula, great, excellent sticky web setter. Obviously, you've got compound eyes as well, so you can run Thunder for a lot of damage, sort of makes up for it. It's not got bad special attack, but you have to run Timid Nature a lot of the time, so having Thunder with compound eyes just really increases its damage output. You run Hidden Power in leagues where that's allowed. It just takes care of some Pokemon that might want to switch into it easy. Okay, Gardevoir. It's not. I'm going to put Gardevoir in C tier again. It's got good move pool. It's got decent typing. It would be nice to be a little bit faster. It's a little bit frail. There's other Psychic Fairies that do what this Pokemon does, but just better, I think. Not much else to say about it. I used it in my first league as a sort of lower tier pick for a Fairy type. Well, not for a Fairy type because I had Mega Altaria, but for a Psychic type. For a special attacker, And yeah, it doesn't take too many hits. You can Scarf it. That sometimes works quite well. But I don't think it's on the same level as these B tier guys. Gastrodon. I'm putting Gastrodon. I'm gonna put Gastrodon A tier. I love this Pokemon. Storm Drain's a great ability. I think recently, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Gen 9 has just given it hazards to set as well. That's just gonna make this Pokemon so much better. Very bulky, obviously, unless it's a grass type attack. So if you pair it with something that resists grass, it's taking hits, you get recovers up. Again, it's not a passive defensive Pokemon. You can put some damage in. You can go Scald for burns. I really enjoyed using Gastrodon. Goodra. I kind of want to put Goodra in C tier. Again, I enjoy Goodra. It's very bulky on the special side. I wish it had a little bit more physical defense, like the Hisuian form does. It should make this Pokemon a lot better. I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier, I think. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. Gliscor. Gliscor is gonna be top of A tier, I think. I don't think it quite makes the S tier, but Toxic Orb, you just become such an annoying presence. Unless your opponent can get a knockoff before you get poisoned. That poison heal is working so nice. You got Roost, and then you've got. That's the thing. I really enjoy defensive Pokemon that can still put in some damage. And Gliscor is one of those Pokemon. You can also defog with Gliscor, so it's got a lot of utility. It can put in some damage. Just stay away from ice. Okay, now we're gonna get to some S tier Pokemon. Great Tusk is gonna be right at the top. What an absolute powerhouse. 131 attack and defense with 87 speed. There's so much you can do with this Pokemon, as some of you might have experienced coming against it in the last Big G season. You can run fully offensive sets. You can run max speed, max defense, using body press. Stab body press with that stat is doing a lot of damage and just making you really bulky at the same time. It's a fantastic. I'd say it's probably. I think it might just be the best rapid spinner in the game. Because it really benefits not just from getting rid of hazards for your teammates, but it really benefits getting that +1 speed and just sets it up to sweep. Because you've got such a good attack stat, you just get 1 speed boost. You're outspeeding quite a lot of things. It makes it such a dangerous Pokemon. Obviously, you can go knockoff. You can set rocks as well. There's nothing this Pokemon does badly. Just stay away from special attacks. So you want to pair it with something that can take a lot of special hits, especially stuff that's weak to, like water, grass, fairy. Otherwise, that thing is dying. Assault Vest just doesn't cut it on this Pokemon because it's that bad, that special defense. But apart from that, it's such a good Pokemon to use. Iron Moth. I'm going to put Iron Moth in S tier as well. You get 1 agility on this Pokemon, and you just click Fiery Dance. That's all you have to do, because then you just keep setting up as you're sweeping through your opponent's team. Happened countless times in this last season. How we put it in tier 2, I don't know, but I'll be forever grateful. I mean, it's going to be moved up to tier 1 for next season, but I'm grateful I got to use it at that value. Great partner to Great Tusk as well. I think they just worked really well. Special and physical attackers. Okay, then Kyurem is going to be another S tier Pokemon. I think I'm going to put it above Iron Moth even. We used this in our first league, and again, just such versatility on this Pokemon. You've got that 130 attack and special attack. Granted, Icicle Spear is its stab ice move. Not amazing. but you still do a lot of damage. The special attacking sets are fantastic. It's a great modest Scarfer. You put in a lot of damage, outspeeding. You can go sub-toxic roost if you want. I didn't find many chances to do that, but I know it definitely works. Especially with the snow, the new snow features. It's come out since I've used this Pokemon. I think that's going to really boost it. Especially the sort of Stally sets. It's going to be an absolute demon head with like a Slowking or a Bomb Snow or a Alolan Ninetales. Okay, and then Landorus Therian. Obviously, this is also an S-tier Pokemon. I'm going to put it... I think Great Tusk is better. I think I enjoyed Great Tusk more. Only just. Obviously, as physical attacking ground types, they fill a very similar role on teams. And they do things... They do amazing things that the other one can't do. So Landorus gets Intimidate and is a little more bulky on the special side. But Landorus can't Rapid Spin like Great Tusk can. Earthquake Close Combat. No, sorry. Headlong Rush Close Combat. It's a really good combination. So it's really... You'd be really well off with whichever one of these you get on your team. So they both belong right at the top of S tier at the moment. Okay, back to some lower tier ones. We're going to go with Leafeon. I'll put Leafeon here in C tier. It's not bad. It's just not great. So we drafted it in WBC. Alongside Landorus here, Gastrodon, Drapion, and a few of the other Pokemon we haven't talked about yet. It didn't come to many games. In fact, I think it only came to one game against a team that's very much a rain team. So my plan with Leafeon was I could set up Sun with it, get rid of the rain if it's up, or Grass type works well against quite a lot of their team. It does have some good utility moves. It does have a good physical defense stat. So I wouldn't completely overlook Leafeon. You can do Wish Protect with it. You got Chlorophyll. You can set up Sun and then really go in. But I found maybe it's just the rest of the team I had. I found myself not wanting to put this on my team very often. So I think it's going to go... Actually, I'm going to put it above Gardevoir. That's where it's going to go. Okay, Liepard. I drafted this, didn't bring it to a single game. Traded it off 4 weeks into Big Juice Season 3. So I'm sure it has some good use with Prankster. I just didn't get much of a chance to use it, so I'm going to have to put it in D tier there. Okay, next up, Magnezone. We've used this twice, so we used this in the Shadow Fate League and the WBC. And this is easy. It's going to go in the A tier, I think. Fantastic Pokemon. You take care of a lot of the steel types that maybe your dragons struggle against. Even in both leagues I used this in, Hidden Power was banned. And that did kind of hurt it. And I would consider maybe putting it at the top of B tier instead. But you give this thing Hidden Power Fire. Or Fighting. Easy tier. You can go Body Press on this. So actually you still take care of a lot of flying types. There's only some maybe like Corviknight. No, you take care of Corviknight as well. Yeah, no, easy A tier. Obviously does a little better with Hidden Power, but even without it, you've got Volt Switch, you've got Flash Cannon. It's quite bulky, and you just put on a lot of damage with it. Fantastic Pokemon to use. Mousehold. So we know how this is done recently. I'm going to put this in B tier. We'll put it there. Now, Population Bomb is insanely powerful. Don't get me wrong. But this thing runs the exact same set every time you bring it. You'll go Tidy Up, U-Turn, Pop Bomb, and Bite. Always. Which makes it very easy to prepare for in Draft League. You know, you have one opponent with a Rocky helmet on, Mousehold is finished. So it does make it a little bit of a problem. Obviously, you can get this off really well, and I've managed to do it a few games. But it's a little bit risky. I think it's quite easy to prepare for, so it doesn't quite make up to A tier. It does force this prep. It does force the prep. And also, if your opponent has anything to speed it or tidy up, then it's quite hard to justify bringing it in to get tidy up before it dies. So it's a struggle, but we'll keep it in B tier. Mega Gallade, absolute S tier. I'm gonna put it above Landorus. It's the absolute MVP of my team in the WBC. You get one sword stance up on this thing with 110 speed, and it kills everything. Nothing takes. You get close. You put close combat on this. You put knockoff, and then any other move. It's got amazing coverage. You got Leaf Blade. I think it gets Aqua Cutter now. What else do we have? Ice Punch. You can really just customize it. Whatever's going to hit the most Pokemon on your opponent's squad. Gallade can do it. You get one sword dance up on this Pokemon and just go to town on it. It's absolutely fantastic. So that's going to be a true S tier Pokemon. Meowstic. I'm gonna... Again, it was another Prankstamon. Very low tier. That I just didn't get a lot of value out of when I used it. I did actually bring it to a game or two, unlike live pods, so I'm put it. It's going to be right at the bottom of C tier, I think. Primate. Okay, Primate's going to go in C tier as well. I'm going to put it above Drifloon, kind of towards this end. I didn't bring it to many games, sure, but the potential is definitely there. You've got, especially with Rage Fist, Drain Punch. You can use your Violite now, so you're going to take a hit. One game that I had a prepped for, with a Violite, a lot of defensive investment, it was able to survive a hit from Chien-Pao, hit back with Drain Punch. Unfortunately, we got a crit, so it did work out, but the potential for it's definitely there. I think I got quite unlucky with how I used it, but as a lower tier choice, I think it's quite good. Rotom. Okay, so we got the Rotums here. So Rotom Wash, top of A tier. Fantastic utility Pokemon. Not many weaknesses. You've got Hydro Pump, Volt Switch. Actually, I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to put Rotom Fan in B tier as well. We're going to put it. Yeah, we're going to put it here. So Rotom is just a fantastic Pokemon with the bulk it has. No matter what set you run, you put 100%. You max out HP, and then you can either max out speed. You can go Choice Scarf, Trick. You can go a little bit more offensive, or you can max out some of your defensive stats. So you can spread status with this. You can Volt Switch. You can Defog, Knock Off. Wait, does it get Knock Off? I feel like it does, but I never really run it. Pain Split, as its one recovery option, is a little bit annoying. And I've had some unlucky plays where opponents switched in and have ended up losing HP over a Pain Split. I think Rotom Wash is better in this aspect because Rotom Fan has to wear boots as no choice because of its flying type. Rotom Wash can run left. You can afford to run leftovers on it instead, and just survive a little bit longer. And that Hydro Pump just has a lot more value than Air Slash. but this still out for it's usually like right at the bottom of some of the tiers. Insane value. Get yourself a Rotom. Okay, Hisuian Samurott. I'm gonna put this in A tier. Probably at the bottom of A tier. About there. I think the bottom of A tier is good. Being able to attack and set up spikes at the same time. I don't know how I'm going to cope without having this Pokemon on my team, without being able to do that. It's absolutely fantastic. But what this Pokemon also gets is dual priority stab. You've got Aqua Jet and Sucker Punch. So you can afford to run Choice Band with its lower speed and just go max HP. And you'll know you can either take a hit and hit back with an Aqua Cut or a Ceaseless Edge, or you go in for an Aqua Jet or a Sucker Punch Choice Band Adamant Nature boosted. Not Sharpness boosted, but still going to do a lot of damage. So you can also Choice Scarf this, but I think for my season, it always did better with the Choice Band sets. Even if I knew it wasn't going to outspeed certain Pokemon, it's just very good to get that damage output and then use priority moves instead. Okay, Silvally. Silvally is going to be... Where in B tier do we want Silvally? Let's put it there. So, as a utility Pokemon, this is amazing. In Draft League, because your opponent is not going to be able to predict what type you're going to run. You can run any type, so just to fit anything, any gaps in your team that your opponent might have. Oh, we'll just throw a Silvally on there. Make it quite bulky. You got base 95 everything. Actually, to be fair, the one league I played with Silvally in, we were using Radical Red Showdown. There's a few different changes in that. But Silvally was buffed up to base 100 everything. So it was slightly stronger than it actually is, pretty much. But amazing move pool. You got Parting Shot, that works really nicely, and multi-attack that can do anything. You've got an amazing move pool. So it's just really good to fill any gaps in your team. Even the normal type, you can run Assault Vest, Leftovers. That works very well as well. So definitely sort of a camouflage chameleon Pokemon. Definitely recommend trying it out. Okay, then we've got Tapu Lele. S tier. Obviously, this thing is an absolute monster. You throw a Choice Scarf on this, let it outspeed most of the metagame, and you've got really good coverage. So you can run Psychic or Psyshock. You got Moonblast for your stab options. Then you've got Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast. You're hitting a lot of Pokemon. Choice Specs works as well. You usually want to be able to outspeed more Pokemon. My favorite set I ran with this was Carmine Salicberry. So I'd Calm Mind up whilst my opponent thinks he's getting a lot of damage into me, pops the Salicberry, and then suddenly I'm +1 special attack, special defense, and speed. And then you can just from there just go really in on your opponent. Absolutely fantastic Pokemon. Speaking of fantastic Pokemon, we've got Tornadus Therian in the game as well. Yeah, you've got base, I think it's 121 speed, Regenerator. You can either be a utility Pokemon, a Defogger, U-Turn, Tailwind, Icy Wind, lots of speed control, or you can go Nasty Plot, Choice Specs. There's not a lot this Pokemon doesn't do. You've got physical attacks as well. You've got good physical attacking stat, so you can go Knockoff. Huge variety in the move pool. You've got Regenerator. It's a fantastic pivot. You can keep it alive a lot longer. Absolutely deserves a spot in S tier. It's just worth pointing out, in the WBC season that I used this with, the sort of core of my team was Tornadus, Landorus, Tapu Lele, and Gallade. These 4 came to every single match. Actually, there's one game that Landorus didn't come to because it was a rain team. But apart from that, these 4 made an amazing core. You've got the defoggers, you've got the hazard setters, these kind of utility pivots, and then the offensive synergy that these 2 have together. Even if you don't end up setting up Psychic Terrain for Gallade, because a lot of the time you set up Psychic Terrain with Tapu Lele, you want to stay in and take advantage of the Psychic Terrain. But even so, they just hit everything together. That's going to be all the S tier Pokemon, I'm pretty sure, from here. So, Virizion, I think, is a good lower tier value Pokemon. It's not got the best defensive stats. It's got a decent speed tier. It's got okay coverage. Let's put it at the bottom of B tier. It's usually in the lower tiers, which makes it decent value if you're looking for a grass type or a fighting type. You've got Justifies. You get a lot of knockoffs of that running around in Draft League, so that's an easy little boost. Bussaflon is going to be an A tier Pokemon. I'm going to put it out here, I think. This thing is a nuke. You run either... It's one of those Pokemon you probably either run Scarf or Specs on. Scarf, you outspeed everything, and you just do a good amount of damage. But if you could afford to run Choice Specs, nothing survives it. Absolutely nothing survives it. Only problem is you do end up wanting to run Scarf a lot of the time, because you think a lot of opponents probably try and prepare to outspeed this to get that kill on, because it is quite frail. It's the one issue we do have with it. I would love if it learnt Hex as well. If it learnt Hex, I'd put it in S tier, I think, because you could really build around setting up lots of status and Toxic Spikes and Thunder Waves, and then just have him come in and Hex everything to death. That would be fantastic. So yeah, I think it's not quite S tier, but it's a really good offensive power to have on the team. And last Pokemon we got is Turtonator. I don't think I brought this to a single game, to be honest. I can see the value in it, and I did pick it as sort of a low tier, didn't have many points left to choose. But, yeah, we'll put it there. Be good if this thing had, I don't know, Drought or something. It'd be a really good Sun Pokemon. But you have to, yeah. There's not much I can say about Turtonator. I mean, did you know though, on Radical Red Showdown, this thing gets Dauntless Shield? That's really odd. I don't think we were allowed to use it. But that would have been very fun to play around with. Okay, so that's going to be it. So these are all the Pokemon that I've used in Draft League so far. Hoping to add a few more after a few more seasons. Maybe we'll come back to this list in a while and add some more Pokemon on, or maybe change some of them around if I end up playing with some of these again. But that'll do us for today. Thank you for watching. Stick around. See you next time.